Good afternoon. Thank you for creating time for us. You are in time for the Lunchtime News. A very warm welcome to the broadcast. My name is Irene Muchuma Odim. On sign language interpretation, we have Susan Thuku. It is the 8th day in the month of November 2022, 12 days to the World Cup Games in Qatar. KBC Channel 1 will be bringing you 28 mouth-watering games live from Qatar. Do interact with us on all our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1. We have news for you making headlines locally and also across the borders. There is a building that has collapsed in Tasia area in Embakasi, part of Nairobi County. My colleague Timothy Kipnusu is on that bit. But for now, we move to Parliament buildings where the nominee for the position of Inspector General of Police is facing members of Parliament.
That is how police commissions are organized. We have the civilian aspect, then the executive. Because worldwide, police work is very stressful career. Worldwide. Therefore, when I'm there sitting as an IG, the chairman of the commission is a civilian. As we deal with the HR issues, I'm able to guide the commission regarding issues of an officer who is in Kibish. I've been there. An officer who is in Kiunga. I've been there. Therefore, it's a good idea to have the two DIGs and the IG as commissioners. That is helping a lot. Sir, the other one was Honorable Hussein. Sir, I'm not privy to the 2,000 plots. I'm not privy to that information. And again, Muchuma mentioned that there's a matter is going on in the court. Therefore, there's an area I need to be very careful about. I don't put the service in an embarrassing situation. Again, KPR is the policy. We are going to review the policy. Extrajudicial killing. This is the supreme law of the land. This is the guiding factor. Anything we do, this is our anchor. This is what holds our country together. And as I said, this is our country, all of us. We have no spare country. We cannot have a situation where it is the IG breaking the law. The Constitution is very clear. Talks about right to life. It's very clear. Who am I as a policeman to decide to take somebody's life? Under my watch, anybody attempting that one will face the law. We must allow every citizen of this country to enjoy his or her existence. You exist, enjoy existing. That is the commitment I wish to give this morning, this afternoon, sorry, sir. Missing persons and chair. That's why I'll come back again, maybe this committee, so that we can discuss further about this office of the Coroner General. We need that office. I know that act was enacted, I think, 2017. We need the Coroner General soon as possible, so that any unnatural death, is investigated to logical conclusion. And that, again, would be a game changer. That, again, chair, co-chair, it is my commitment we need support by this the committee to make that operational. Including the case of your cousin. We cannot allow every evening you are watching news, you are seeing mothers crying, wives crying. We can't continue that as a country. Housing, by Honorable Sen again, housing, I will not take you through the conditions I lived under when I was a constable in Eastlands. Too unfortunate. The service had been neglected for a number of years. There was no investment at all to the service. What I propose is a short-term, medium-term, and long-term measures. Because construction is expensive. There are competing needs in terms of the resources we have as a country. What I would propose, a chair, to this committee is a short-term measure. We enhance the house allowance. Let's enhance the housing allowance based on where the police station is located. Because I can imagine Mudangari police station is in Lavington. What the officers are being paid now is so little that you find an officer policing Mudangari Lavington. You live in Babandogo, then commute. At times he's expected to be on duty in the night. So again, we end up losing officers because they're armed, they are targets. So that is a short-term measure. Enhance the house allowance. Long-term is construction. Again, I will engage I seek the dangers of the chair so that the housing money which went to the Ministry of Housing can be brought back to National Police Service. We used to get every year 2 billion for construction. And that's why we're able to do nice houses in Oyugis, in Sigomere, in Uguja, nice houses, modern houses. Kibish. But that money these days goes to Ministry of Housing. The officers I was asking, they told me they have not been called for any meeting by the Minister of Housing. I wish that money is channeled through the service. Sir, Honorable Korere, sir, I wish to report, since I took over the command of the National Police College, I've not taken even a single police officers for training to Mokowondo. Since I took over, because of the issues with the community there, I didn't want to compromise our relationship with the community. So these days, we train on our land, police land in Magadi. We stopped from when I took over November 2019, not even a single police officer from Kiganjo is trained in Mokogondo. They go to Magadi.
Point of order, Chair. Point of order.
Yes,
or point of information. I want to inform the Buanakome that I'm aware they stopped training because of a case of a school child who was blown up by the ordinances the police recruits or the police trainers have left in our field. That is in 2019. The boy was actually blown up on the 31st of December 2019. We have a schoolgirl of class 6 with a bullet lodged in her knee because there was a stray bullet that hit the child. And what the police did, instead of addressing the issue, they have trained on our land, we have the title, for over 50 years. Instead of addressing that issue, they have not been paying any lease to that community. They actually ran away and refused to address the communities whatsoever. And I'm just bringing it to his attention, now that he's the Inspector General. The family of the boy who was blown up is still mourning the loss of their loved one. The girl that has got a bullet lodged on her knee is still going through problems, very poor. They can't even afford medication. What are you going to do if we approve your appointment to address, because it is an injustice done to those families?
A section of lawmakers are grilling the Inspector General of Police nominee, Japheth Koome, from Parliament buildings. The members are drawn from both houses, from the Senate Committee on National Security and also a number of members of Parliament. We have able team on the ground on that bit, but for now we also have other news making headlines in the city. Let's cross over to Embakasi. This is where a building has collapsed. My colleague Timothy Kipnusu is on standby from the other end. He is going to give us a brief on what is happening on the ground. Do we have any fatalities? Kipnusu, good afternoon. Bring to speed with the latest development from your end.
A very good afternoon to you, Irene Muchuma, there at the Recasting House. Yes, indeed, as we mentioned, I'm coming to you live from Atasi, Embakasi in Nairobi County, where an 8-story building collapsed yesterday at 4 p.m. And we're here to try to understand what is happening. And the rescue team has been here. A team from the Red Cross have been here. Also, Kenya Defense Forces, just trying to salvage the situation here. The ground floor of this building hosts a number of businesses, and of course a number of them have incurred huge losses. As you can see, it is a terrible situation here in Tasia. Of course, a number of residents have been here just to find out what is the situation look like. Also, the Institution of Engineers of Kenya have been here since morning just to monitor the situation. Of course, I'm now joined by Engineer Grace Mudhoni, who is the Vice President from the Institution of Engineers of Kenya, just to break it down and tell us what has happened here in Embakasi. Perhaps you can tell us now what led to the collapse of this building here in Embakasi.
Okay, when a building like this one collapses, the first thing that comes to mind is that it was not strong enough in layman terms. So what it means is that the foundations that support this building can be questioned. The columns that support this building can be questioned. The entire support system of this building is put to question. So the issues arise, and if, for example, the design was done properly, then maybe the way it was constructed by the contractor did not follow the engineer's specifications, because the contractor also has to follow the specifications by the engineer to make sure that that building is as strong as it was designed to be. As you can see, this is a building over 8 stories. That's a very massive building by any standards here in Nairobi. We expect that a lot of work has been done to make sure that all the statutory processes have been followed in terms of getting the approvals, and in terms of getting the designs properly approved, in terms of even getting the contractor and a proper team, qualified team, to design the building and also to supervise the building.
So, perhaps maybe what have you gathered? Are there any facilities or maybe people trapped in this particular
as you can imagine, from a point of view as an engineer, one of the things that we are trained, and we are trained over and over again, is the issue of safety. Safety is a very big consideration in any kind of design of a project of this magnitude, where we are going to have human beings occupying that particular facility. Safety is always paramount. So in this particular case, the first question that comes to mind is, was there a human being affected? And we have been established that we are not been able to get the true facts, but so far the indicators that there are no casualties, but the could be trapped in there. The number is not known. The Red Cross are here. They have been here since morning, and they're still trying to strategize on how they're going to do the rescue operations. But from our point of view, we find it very unfortunate that human lives are being compromised by developers who are not able to follow the due process to make sure that safe buildings are put up. And for us as Institute of Engineers of Kenya, we say that probably there are two parameters here. Either it is the ignorance on the part of the developers, so we have a duty to educate these developers, members of the public, that it is the right thing to do. To make sure that they follow the right processes and make sure that they get competent people who can support them in their work. From the IEK, we have got a database of over 10,000 engineers. A very high proportion of these engineers are very, very competent to assist in this kind of project, to give all the technical support, all the technical assistance from design to the approval process, supervision, and you get a very good building that will serve you for the at least even 50 years of your investment.
Where you sit as Vice President of the Institution of Engineers of Kenya, yes. Because we have seen a number of cases where buildings are collapsing, a recent one from Kirigita, and we are told the same story. Do you think, where does the buck stop? Because who is slipping at the job? Perhaps the county government, the national government, and of course you talked about having contractors who do not meet the standard.
Yes, I think in a case like this one, when there's a failure like this one, yes, we have to really think where does the buck stop. But I don't think it's as easy as that. Yeah, I don't think it's a single responsibility. That is why we need to enhance collaboration. We need to enhance collaboration from ourselves. We are a members body. We have got members who are professionals, who are trained, who we train and we keep on training, and we emphasize on training so that they can be competent in what they do. And then we have got the regulator, the Engineers Board of Kenya, who also makes sure that only those who are competent are put on the register. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, we have got the National Construction Authority, who also make sure that only competent contractors are given the right to undertake this kind of a project.
Thank you.
And then we have got the county government who approve the drawing. So you can see it's a collaboration between all these agencies. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. There you have it. That is Engineer Grace Muthoni, who is the Vice President of Institution of Engineers of Kenya, just breaking down to us about what has happened here. An 8-story building collapsing in Tasia Embakasi, and of course no casualties have been reported so far, but indicators, as she has mentioned, it's like some people have been trapped inside this particular building. Of course the rescue team here, team from the Red Cross, and of course the Kenya Defence Forces, just to understand what could have caused the building to collapse. And of course he has talked about the National Construction Authority and national government, of course also the county government, collaborating in ensuring that such incidents don't occur in the near future. From me, Timothy Kipnusu, I hand you back to studio, Irene Muchuma.
Unfortunate incident there, Timothy Kipnusu reporting live from Embakasi. To education concerns, the Teachers Union representing special education has faulted the Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Mashogu for his remarks on university funding, saying lack of funding for public universities would affect learners from humble backgrounds. James Torome of Special Needs Education Teachers says there is need for consultations within the education sector before any directives are issued, as education is a critical sector of the economy.
We know the little funding which have been given to our university have of much assistance to our learners. So for him now to withdraw that little funding, it means majority of the learners from the poor background are going to drop out of the school. So unions are not part of the parliamentary group. We are not going to give any information.
Kitui Governor Dr. Julius Malombe has proposed introduction of a 3% levy on all salaried Kenyans to fund education. Speaking during a meeting with the Presidential Working Group on Education Reforms, Malombe said funding public education for a growing population is not a mean task.
The Presidential Working Group on Education Reform was at Kitui School Social Hall to collect views from the public on the competency-based curriculum. In his speech, the host Governor Julius Malombe termed inadequate funding as the greatest challenge in provision of basic education in the country. Malombe stated that one of the major issues is the government's inability to sufficiently fund education and proposed introduction of a levy on all income earners, regardless of whether they have school-going children or not.
Unless we come up with bold initiatives now to address the elephant in the room, and the elephant in the room is financing. Na finansi ile tunaambia serikali ni lazima tujiulize sisi wenyewe itatoka wapi.
While lauding the initiative by the government to reform education, the Kenya National Union of Teachers Kitui Branch Executive Secretary Simon Dingo, however, called for better remuneration and deployment of teachers.
The truth why CBC did not succeed is that a demoralized teacher is a demoralized teacher. A teacher who has not been given promotion is a demoralized teacher. A teacher who has not been deployed properly is a demoralized teacher.
Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers, COPET, on the other hand, urged the national government to provide educational materials used by CBC learners, saying solicitation of the materials had put teachers and parents at loggerheads, with parents feeling burdened by the involved costs.
Education stakeholders have called on the government to standardize the quality of education for both private and public schools. Led by the director of Madara School, Hamisi Moore, the stakeholders said that the competency-based curriculum should provide equal opportunities for all learners, irrespective of their backgrounds.
Children in the cities excel more than the children in the villages. I'm seeing a great potential here, Director. Great potential. That they'll nationally compete with others and they'll excel. That nothing will stop them. It is only them who can stop themselves.
We train you so well and you pick our culture. Then we get you the next stage to go to. We mold you up to and until when you leave, we are able to connect you to the world. That is the vision that we have. With your support, everyone, we hope that we will reach that vision.
All right, 12 days to the World Cup in Qatar. KBC Channel 1 will be televising the matches live from Qatar. We'll be bringing you more details about the games on the other side. For now, let's take a breather.
Hey guys, Sanaipe Tande hapa on Pop Culture. Kumbukeni kutizama KBC Channel 1 exclusively showing the World Cup 2022.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
All right, welcome back. You're watching the Lunchtime News. This is KBC. Now, the ban of drought has affected many livelihoods in the country, and this has resulted to many school-going children failing to go to school and even others going without food. This afternoon, we are putting a spot check in Marsabit. My colleague Nancy Okware is in the region to bring for us the feel of how things are on the ground. Okware, good afternoon. All right, we'll be linking later on with Nancy Okware, who is in Marsabit, as he assess the situation on drought in the area. For now, let's cross over to the county of Kiambu. Scores of passengers were left injured after a head-on collision involving a 33-seater minibus and a personal vehicle along Kiambu Road in the region. It is alleged that the accident was as a result of recklessness by the driver. The injured were rushed to Kiambu Level 5 Hospital, where they are recuperating.
According to an eyewitness, the accident was caused by the driver of a Prado make car. The driver of the car was driving towards Kirigiti, and the PSV Matatu was ferrying passengers headed to Nairobi and collided at the junction. Residents say a high number of accidents have been reported at the spot and called upon KENHA to redesign the road to prevent more accidents from happening.
Ilikuwa inatoka Nairobi na ilikuwa inaingia Kirikiti, na hii basi nayo ilikuwa inatoka Kiambu. Sasa wa Prado kupeana nafasi, kwa ajili ya kupeana nafasi, Prado na basi nayo imekuja mbio, wakapatana hapa, basi Prado ikiingia ndio zikakongana, na wala ambao wanatoka Nairobi wanataka kuingia Kirikiti wapitie chini, na ile ambayo itaki kuingia Kirikiti ipitie juu. Hapa tuwezi kuwa na ajali hapa, sababu unaona hii gari wangepatana na hiyo Prado.
Confirming the incident, Kiambu Level 5 Medical Superintendent Dr. Anthony Murage said that the facility received 11 patients who were brought to casualty for first aid, and others were referred to various departments for checkup.
Received a total of 11 casualties from the accident at within Kirigiti, where a bus collided with a small vehicle. Most are stable and have been treated and discharged. We only have one patient who will require theatre treatment, and they are currently going in for emergency theatre. Although it's just a flesh wound, which should be treated easily.
Opicho Chemtai for Lunchtime News.
Thank you, Opicho. We now cross over to Marsabit. Nancy Okware can now get us loud and clear. Okware, good afternoon. We have been facing the ban of drought across the country. There are those homes that have gone without food, and this has affected largely school-going children. Okware, from where you are, what is it like?
Well, a very good afternoon to you, Irene Muchuma. We are coming to you live from Komboe area, that is in Laisamis in Marsabit County. We are following up on the drought situation, given that Marsabit County is one of the counties that have been worst hit by the ongoing drought in the country. Remember that there have been a number of interventions from the government, including animal offtake programs and, of course, relief food distribution, as well as a number of interventions from the communities and also non-governmental organizations, just in a bid to ensure that no one loses their lives as a result of the ongoing drought. Communities, on the other hand, have been embracing, alternative means of livelihood, given that in this area, most of the communities depend on livestock keeping. But due to the harsh conditions, they have had to devise different ways just to, make ends meet. And one of the economic activities that is ongoing here is beekeeping. And a number of communities have come together just to keep bees as a means of economic empowerment. And I'll be speaking to one of the area residents who is going to tell us how they are actually doing this in the amid the drought. Karibu sana. Kwanza kabisa tueleze jina lako na utueleze kuhusiana na huu mradi wenyu wa kufuga nyuki.
Kwa majina naitwa Susan Kaile, niko hapo mji wa Isamis, Marsabit. Sisi ni wamama ya group wafugaji wa nyuki hapo. Niliona nyuki sio ile mali na moja, alafu unafuga tu iko hapo kwa nyumbani, ni mzuri sana.
Kwa hivyo ukiangalia jinsi hali ilivyo, kuna ukame, wengi wanafuga mifugo ambao wanafariki, mkaona ya kwamba nyuki inawasaidia kiuchumi, na pengine mnapata pesa ngapi kutoka kwa hii shughuli ambayo mnaendesha hapa?
Kwa msinga moja itategemea seasoning, wakati vile season itatoa flowering mara 2 kwa mwaka. Tunapata kwa msinga moja 8,000, 7,000 na 10,000. Tukipata hiyo pesa tunaweka saving ya kusomesha watoto wetu, na sisi pia tunakula na kuweka tena saving ya group.
Na kwa hiyo kikundi mko kina mama wangapi ama mmeshirikiana wangapi?
Tumeshirikiana na mama 10. Zamani tulikuwa 15, sasa tuko 10 na tuko na greenhouse pia huko. Ya kuweka mamiti, kupanda mamiti.
Kwa hivyo kama jamii, bali na kufuga nyuki, pia mnajihusisha katika kupanda miti.
Inatusaidia, ndio tunapata hata hapo mapato pia.
Kwa hivyo ungewaambia nini wale ambao sasa hivi wanakabiliana na ukame, wasitegemee tu ile mambo ya kulea mifugo pekee?
Wasitegemee mifugo pekee yake, kwa sababu kuna njia ya kujikulisha pia, sio kukaa na njaa.
Naam, asante sana. Well, Irene, as you've heard, that is just one of the area residents and she's talking about beekeeping and saying that it is an alternative to the livestock keeping that is actually more, resilient in these areas, because the residents are not forced to move from area to area whenever the drought situation gets worse. So we're going to be keeping tabs on the situation right here in Marsabit County, moving on to the other areas just to look at how communities and livelihoods have been affected by the ongoing drought. But for now, it's back to you, Irene Muchuma, in studio.
Okware, good to have you. Nancy Okware reporting live from the county of Marsabit on the state of drought in the region. The organization is also partnering. I'll take that again. The Kenya Red Cross has distributed food to over 4,800 vulnerable families in Samburu County. The donation mainly targeted to those in dire need of assistance and the disabled, says it will work towards ensuring that vulnerable families get help. The organization is also partnering with the Kenya Meat Commission to buy animals for slaughtering and distributing meat to the drought-ravaged families.
Kuweza kusaidia wale familia ambao wanaweza kupoteza wanyama hao kwa njia ya kuchinja na kupatiana yale nyama kwa wananchi ili waweze kuitumia nyumbani, na pia kuweza kulipa wale wafugaji ile hela ndiposa waweze kuweza kuitumia kwa njia nyingine. Na pia tumeweza kufikia familia 1,700 kwa njia ya kupatiana pesa ambao kwa njia ya kimombo ni cash for assistance, ambapo pia tunaangalia zile familia ambao zimeathirika katika hizo sub-county 3 ya Samburu. Wakina mama na watoto wakati kama huu ndio waathirika zaidi, na pia kuna wale ambao wako katika jamii kama wazee, wale ambao ni wagonjwa pia wanastahili kusaidiwa.
Alafu wale wanaishi na ukimwi ni watu 58. Kwa hivyo siku ya leo shirika la Msalaba Mwekundu wameweza kusaidia watu 100. Tunashukuru shirika hili kwa sababu ameweza kusaidia siku ya leo. Hao watu ambao wameishi na ama vulnerable community, tunashukuru siku ya leo, manake hii jilali na mambo mengi ya ulemavu katika maisha yao walikuwa ameleta maisha yao chini sana. Lakini kwa leo tunashukuru hii shirika kwa sababu wametenda mambo la ajabu. Hii watu watafaidika kwa siku tuseme kwa wiki mzima bila kuona tatizo ambayo tatizo la njaa.
Red Cross kwa sababu ametusaidia kwa ukame, na hii ukame jamaa ni kali zaidi, lakini tunashukuru vile ametusaidia, ametupea chakula, ametupea kamboga.
All right, police officers from Kabachi Police Station in Mtwati, Igembe North Sub-County, Meru County, early today arrested 3 suspected robbers and recovered a motorcycle suspected to have been stolen. Mtwati Sub-County Police Commander Eliud Lenting said they got information that there was a stolen Boda Boda motorcycle from Timau area in Buri Sub-County within Meru County that was being ridden towards Mtwati. They then laid an ambush at Mtwati Market and managed to nab the 3 suspects and the stolen motorcycle.
Ningependa kuarifu wale wezi wote ambao wanahusika kwa hii kitendo ya wizi ya pikipiki. Masiku senyu zimehesabuliwa. Mambo senu yote imefichiliwa na wananchi wameamua na wamejitolea kutupatia majina ya wezi wote. So mwenye anapatwa hako kwa hiyo maneno ya wizi, afadhali na toa honyo, awachane na hiyo maneno ya wizi kuanzia leo.
Residents of Kiwanjani area of Isiolo County are up in arms over deliberate dumping of cotton soil by road construction company workers in a riparian space. The residents say rainwater has also been diverted to their homes, and this will ultimately cause flooding and eventual displacement of residents from their homes. They are now calling on the National Environment Management Authority, NEMA, to intervene.
According to the residents from Kiwanjani area of Isiolo County, efforts by residents to stop soil dumping in the area have fallen on deaf ears. The locals now worried that water from the higher grounds in the neighboring county of Meru is a disaster waiting to happen, especially with the ongoing rains.
Wametufungia barabara, wamefunga mahali maji ilikuwa maji ya mvua ikinyesha laga, kuna mahali ilikuwa inapitia kwa barabara. Wamekuja na mchanga yao ile wanatoa kwa barabara, wakitengeneza barabara wametufungia barabara. Sasa maji ina barabara inakuja kwa mamboma.
They noted that the area residents have raised their complaints to the various authorities, including the national government administration offices, but no help has been forthcoming.
Na katika maji na majaa, nyumba watu hajalala jana, juzi hajalala, kila siku sisi naomba na asikii maneno. Sisi ni kampuni kubwa na semekana uende pali yote, hata
maji ya kutoka huko juu ikishika hii barabara, hata hii mchanga yote itabebwa na hii watu yote itakuwa na hatari. Hii barabara
They say the road construction company workers have diverted rainwater to their homes, which will cause flooding. They further warn that the residents will petition NEMA on the matter.
problem which will affect both the environment and the people who will be settling there.
When contacted, Area NEMA Director Edward Meza said that his office will soon crack down on lorries from construction companies that are dumping soil in the riparian area.
Thank you for keeping it KBC Channel 1. Welcome to Channel 1 Business News. About 205 elephants and scores of other wildlife died between February and October this year due to drought as East Africa endures its worst drought in 40 years. The crisis has seen a number of rivers drying up, grasslands shriveling, and 49 deaths of the rare and endangered gravy zebras.
Wildlife has not been spared and are suffering a painful death due to a prolonged drought. Hundreds of livestock keepers have also lost their stocks to the ravaging drought. According to data from the Kenya Wildlife Service and other agencies, 512 wildebeest, 381 common zebras, 51 buffaloes, 49 gravy zebras, and 12 giraffes have succumbed in the past 9 months, a clear pointer to dire effects of the drought that have lasted more than 2 years in some parts of East Africa. Animals like buffaloes are now moving closer to human settlements in search of food, increasing the risk of human-wildlife conflict due to scarcity of resources.
Monsoon is being actually in that bracket of where it is almost survival for the fittest and elimination for feed. So monsoon is not actually coping up because, she has to push down a big acacia tree to munch or to actually chew very tough, branches. I suspect her molars would be very weak or just completely worn out.
A report by the Ministry of Tourism recommended providing vulnerable wildlife groups with water, salt lakes, food, and to increase monitoring and data collection of animals pre- and post-drought. On Saturday, the government allocated 100 million shillings to provide relief forage to the starving wildlife. Scientists based at the Samburu National Reserve noted that long-term solutions were needed to help curb the devastating impacts of climate change on biodiversity.
This is the most devastating drought that I've seen because we have about 3 years or even more of no rains actually in this area.
They also called for partnership between conservations that will provide finances to prevent any imminent drought-related mortality of wildlife in the country.
The deadly impacts of climate change are here and now. Loss and damage can no longer be swept under the rug. It is a moral imperative. It is a fundamental question of international solidarity and climate justice.
Kenya and Ghana have linked their security exchanges, allowing cross-border trading of equities and bonds by investors. The linkage of the two has been done a month before implementation of the Africa Exchanges Linkages project that targets to bring together a number of exchanges.
Fragmented capital markets in Africa makes access to stock and bond exchange an uphill task for investors when they are outside their home country. To remedy this, Second Stocks has been launched to ensure there is ease in trading stocks and bonds in multiple markets.
Second Stocks platform connects African stock exchanges, which allows investors in all African markets to easily trade across borders.
If we are able to allow different pools of capital across the continent to find a home, then I think we'll just be baking a bigger cake for the whole continent, and I think that's what we want to achieve.
In the previous years, African capital markets have grown tremendously, with over $246 million raised in debt, over $87 billion raised in equity.
It strengthens African markets because it means it's African capital being invested across Africa, as opposed to African markets relying on international investors only.
The linkage of the Kenyan and Ghanaian bosses come a month before the launch of the African Exchanges Linkages project that will bring together stock exchanges from tens of African countries to facilitate cross-border trading.
We will start providing offerings that will help the retail investor in the hope that everybody on the continent can now invest through their licensed dealing members onto every other jurisdiction across the capital markets in Africa.
The second launch of the second stocks platforms will ease intracontinental trade.
Reporting for Lunchtime News, I'm Terry Njenga.
Micro and small institutions in the green economy have highlighted a lack of loan provisions for the niche sector owing to a lack of tangible collateral. Financial institutions have now been urged to create loan provisions for the industry through time extensions and collaborations with guarantee facilities that now will allow flexibility and de-risking.
The uptake of green financing policies in the Kenyan banking sector has been relatively low, with many institutions struggling to dedicate a portion of their loan portfolio to catering to this new sector. Lenders say many of the MSMEs in unconventional sectors such as the green economy and the creative industry cannot fulfill the requirements banks have when accessing loans,
which makes it even more possible to finance those businesses. But they are bankable anyway. Yeah, they are bankable business anyway. Yeah, so the structuring makes it a lot more robust, and that is possible then with that, so that we can be able to scale it up.
Account of the risks in the lending, and bring about terms that are enable flexibility in the approach to lending.
They say the possible risks financial institutions may incur from lending would make them averse to such businesses. Furthermore, small businesses qualifying for the requirements set by credit facilities often fail to meet the payment deadline set, which largely impedes their ability to grow and maintain operations.
Some larger MSMEs or even utility companies will require longer durations because of the design of the requirement.
The National Bank of Kenya is now looking towards risk sharing with international guarantee institutions that would ensure they are cushioned against 50 to 75% of the risk, allowing for flexible terms, especially for the green sector who may not have conventional collateral.
For risky sectors such as green financing, financial institutions are looking towards collaborations in order to shoulder any possible outcomes. Hibak Said for Lunchtime News.
All right, World Cup Eco KBC, a couple of days to the World Cup games in Qatar, and these matches, 28 of them will be televised live on KBC Channel 1. This afternoon, we are looking at these stadiums that will be hosting these games. We have Al Bayat Stadium. The arena will host the opening match of the World Cup. And also, this stadium is one of the largest stadiums in Qatar. It is designed like traditional Bayat al-Shar tents, and it's able to host at least 60,000 fans who will be monitoring the games from the stadium, and those ones who will be outside will also be monitoring from the big screens. And we have Ahmad bin Ali Stadium. The stadium's design is inspired by the local culture and the traditions of people in Qatar. This stadium will also be able to host quite a big number of people. It mirrors the sweeping undulations and dunes. The stadium will host 7 matches out of all the matches that will be played during the World Cup. It is a 40,000 seat stadium, and its Wales will play all their group matches from this stadia. Remember, there are 4 stadiums that will host the matches in Qatar. This is Al Janoub Stadia. It is dedicated to the fishing and pearl diving culture of Al Wakara city in Qatar. It is inspired by traditional dhow boats at the sea, quite inspiring. Also, there'll be sights and sounds for those ones who will be in Qatar. But remember, KBC Channel 1 will be bringing you 28 mouth-watering matches from Qatar live on KBC Channel 1. Then we have the same stadium that it is futuristic, and it will host 40,000 people who will be able to monitor the match live, and it will host 7 matches, not only 1, but 7. It is the same Stadia 6. Stadia 6 at the group phase and 1 in the round of 16. Australia will play all their group matches from this Stadia. Quite well designed there. And then finally we have Al Tumana Stadia. It is inspired by the Gafia, a cup worn to hold the men's traditional headdress in place, as well as its own boys. And World Cup Eco KBC, a reason for you to stay glued to our screens. This will be from this month through to December. Then we have Al Tumana Stadia. This is a 40,000 seating capacity stadia. It will host 8 matches from these grounds. The stadia with Group 6 matches for round 1 and round 16 games, and round 1 of quarterfinal will be hosted from this stadium. Senegal and Morocco will play 2 matches each at this stadium. That's it on the road to Qatar. But remember, you can keep on interacting with us on all our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1 as the countdown to the Qatar World Cup games begins. World Cup Eco KBC. Now let's have a look at other news making headlines in the world of sports. Arsenal duo Gabriel Jesus and Gabriel Martinelli make the cut as Brazil names their 26-man World Cup squad. In other news, Manchester United midfielder Christian Eriksen has been included in Denmark's preliminary squad to play in the Qatar World Cup Finals. The World Cup Finals will be broadcast live on KBC Channel 1 and all its affiliate radio stations beginning the 20th of this month to the 18th of December 2022. Take a look.
You know what it is. It is Neymar. Is this his moment? Neymar equalizes for Brazil.
Brazil national soccer team coach Tite has named a star-studded World Cup squad made up of 9 forwards as the Seleção seek for glory in Qatar. The team includes Paris Saint-Germain forward Neymar Jr., Chelsea defender Thiago, as well as Real Madrid's winger Vinicius Jr. Group D.
Christensen, Skovalsen, he's got in behind the defence. Pull back, oh, Christian Eriksen!